Evening, everyone. If you would be so kind as to just give me one quick second while I finish setting everything up. Hang on a second, just there we go. That should do that. Alrighty, I think that should be all of my advertisement posting. Let me get into the action then. I need the Inquisitor for SecCon tonight. The rest of those are fine. Let's get right into a battle then. Let's play the match. Let's hope and pray the matchmaker is nice to me, cause it ain't always the case. Alright, well, oh, this is a terrible map for the ship I want to fly. Well, looks like oh, and I brought myself into T5. This is not okay. I've made several mistakes already. I'm gonna go object and be backline support then. Speaking of backline support, holy shit. That needs to be dealt with. Oh, inbound Thargo. Oh, he did. I should not have aggroed that. Never mind, the project has me. That Thargo almost got me. Do we have an engineer? No, we don't have an engineer. Wonderful. Yep, there we go. My object is severely underleveled for this. How are the audio levels? Audio levels look decent. Oh, I might be able to turn the game a bit for voice. There we go. Oh, I was gonna swap to Endeavor. Son of a gun. I am practically the engineer at this point, which is not a thing a guard frigate should do. I need to rotate. Oh, that's not a good thing. Oh, I did not. Oh, hey, Nemo was here. That's interesting. She's probably doing her dailies, if anything. I need to take out my other ship that's bringing me into high level. Because that is, that's no bueno for such a low level ship. Bot Tharkas really don't give a shit about your, Oh, Nemo was the project. I was gonna say, that project's nuts. The granite, that's what's level capping me there. What can I actually run in shield? EM diffuser would probably be better. Capacitor, that's all fine. Tempted to take the armor plated to get a speed boost, but I need the hull. I should take off a relocation mechanism and put econ in, because I like reflecting damage back at my enemies. That's right, I used my monos to make tornado earlier. RIP. Now we just sit in queue. Hey, there's a game. Very nice, very nice. Oh god, I hate this map, but at least I can use Endeavor on it. I love this guard frigate, the Endeavor. It is absolutely nutty. All other guard frigates need to learn from it, because it's kind of ridiculous how fast this guard goes. Endeavor's bread and butter kit is basically I get close, I tank, and then I do more damage for getting shot at. So it does what a guard's supposed to do, but in a way I've never seen any other guard do before. It is actually quite ridiculous. What am I dealing with here? 2 Polises. Those are the 2 Polis. And you can see how my fire rate is ramping up the more they shoot at me, which is the nutty thing about Endeavor's signature gun. I need to creep in here for a little bit. Pray to God my allies hit that next beacon. And the fact that Endeavor can also reroute all enemy lock-ons to it, and then that heals it, is also just ridiculous. Oh shit, I actually lost my shields. I'm not gonna mess with the Argonaut. Where's my team? In the middle of spawn because they're all snipers. Great. I have to take care of this one then. Please shoot me. I would like damage. Alright, that one's down. I've got 2 seconds off my spec mod. I might actually just use that to get over to the next beacon. No, we got a Hawk-M there. Okay, that's good. Well, he just died to... What is that? Leonida and... Alright, Eagle him. I can deal with that. He had an E-barrier. I don't want to use my Sig masking yet, because 62% damage reduction is quite juicy. They shot me. Now they got my fire rate up. Okay, he's metastabled, so I need to get out of here. Otherwise my ship will be... There it is. That shut my pulsar off. That's mildly annoying. There's the E-barrier and there's the death. I need to... 24 seconds off my spec mod. I actually should take a warp gate over there then. Enemy spawn is that direction. This is just versus bots, FYI. Russians are on right now and I don't want to fly at 300 ping. What are you spam pinging? We already have someone there. I hate when people do that. I will eat that missile because I give no shits. I am tooting. Clever girl the bot is, using the wall. There he is. I was gonna say, it went off my radar for a second. They don't have a guard with sig masking. And maybe the scimitar did give it a sig mask. Now this is where Endeavor really shines, because now I have over 150 resist, which is the equivalent of a 62% damage reduction. I've given them a 62% weapon reduction, and then I'm regenning for everyone near me. So like, Endeavor is actually nutty for how low rank of a guard it is. What is that? Achilles. Phobos, that is disconnected. I'll actually deal with the covert ops since our sniper's on that one then. Or never mind. Maybe the game will just finish. Come on, give me a... Hey, metal blank, that ain't bad. I need that for ship production. Not too bad. Not the best that I've done, though. I've definitely done better. Oof. At least we had a beacon capper.
Congratulations on your victory, mercenary.
Ooh, there is some new missions up, and there's some for Iridium. So, this green stuff right here, this is called Iridium. This is a highly needed resource for the game, because any ship that has blueprints like the Project, I need to learn these 3 parts with Iridium, and they are quite expensive. I believe Iridium cap per day is like 700, 800, something like that. So it takes a few days, and each rank 16 and 17 special project takes, I think it's like, what, 7,000 Iridium. So it takes a bit to get those, and then even then, some of the other ships, once you make them, like the Gungnir, which is a sniper, their exclusive modules also take Iridium. So it's a constant crunch to get Iridium in this game. And then, say you don't have anything to spend Iridium on, you can always buy crates for destroyer parts if you don't have those and take a gamble. I personally just dump my Iridium into these 2 crates. The Xena crystals are a resource used for the Iridium ships, which are alien-human hybrids, and manufacturing ship production. And then monocrystals are used for quite literally anything in the game. Upgrading mods, upgrading ships, building ships, weapons, weapon systems, hull systems, everything. What PvE's mission is that? Crimson Haze. I'm going to remove the object and actually show you guys my Custodian, because Custodian is stonks, dude. Where am I? I'm looking for my Tharga. Tharga needs to be in the 3rd slot. I need to remove the stuff off the... Stinger's on patrol. Son of a gun. Let me cancel that patrol. Just give me 1 second while I refit my mods here. I want Supernova for the damage. I want Particle Purge, and I need a... I can't remember, was I running engine overcharge on this, or... Let me just load this. Okay, I was running an engine overcharge with supercooled. I don't have supercooled right now, so I'll just go with Supernova for 25% damage. And then... now I can assign the ships. Custodian needs a leak stabilizer for energy, because it honestly needs energy. It really sucks that for a guard frigate it has 1 capacitor. Yes, crystal plates. They actually buffed crystal plates Crystal plates now stack. What crystal plates do is they give you a base 23 resistance points, which is a damage negation value. And then depending on how many damage sources are attacking you, that grows to 64 points. And equivalently what that means is by having 2 of those, I can now have 120 points of damage reduction. Or resist. I don't exactly remember what that value equates to, but it's a lot. Especially against the hull, and since Custodian's a Jericho ship, all ships of the Jericho faction have very weak hulls, but super strong shields. And for a guard frigate, which main purpose is to kind of sit in the front lines and take all the enemy aggro and debuff it, and then tank that damage, that's kind of nuts. Not gonna lie. And then, you know, you have your other guard modules like Pulsar, which deals 12,000 damage over 12 seconds, so 1,000 damage every second to anyone within 1,200 meters of you. And then every enemy within 2,000 meters gives you an additional 40 points of damage resistance. So the build I have my Custodian allows me to stack resistance incredibly quick. Defense algorithm heals my hull and also gives me 170 points of damage resistance. On the downside that I lose speed. My spec mod gives me a passive 65% or 65 points of damage resistance. So it's quite nutty. And then I've got some seed chips on here that also do similar things, which you guys will probably end up seeing. That's if the Boromir doesn't outspeed me. Boromir is a speed frigate. So this is that ship that I talk about in the chat all the time, the Custodian. This is my bread and butter of a guard. He's got a pulsar chip too. There it is. I love this gun, dude. Being able to deal nearly 70,000 self-damage at the cost of just nuking the entire 1,000-meter area around me is quite ridiculous. So there's actually a little bit of fun lore to this cargo ship. This cargo ship is literally nothing but bombs, and they're using it to just destroy that shield. See, we can get in there. So as you can see, those red lines that come off my ship, I have a seed ship equipped that every 4,000 damage dealt to my shields deals 4,000 damage to every enemy within a certain range. So it's basically a passive one of these that activates when I take damage. I don't get resistance from it, but it deals damage equivalent to damage, which is kind of nuts. I don't have the range on that. I need to upgrade a range on this. Yeah, they got that before I could get in there. The Boromir is definitely outspeeding me. I should be able to hit this one. Ah, I overcharged. That's where all my shields went. That was 109,000 damage. That's juicy. Ah, I missed. Now we have to go in here and take care of these turrets. I would put my frontal shield up in this area, but the only problem is that it prevents allies shooting through it. So essentially I'm just blocking the entire team from doing things and annoying them. I can't tell, are those boarding moils? Boarding coil mods or regular? I think those are boarding. This Boromir is really putting in work. There we go. That wasn't even a crit, and I got 110,000. That's juicy. There's a bunch of enemies back there. I'll let them go cap, and then I'll just do my thing. Oh yes, please stay here. I need this. There we go. Oh yeah, and another thing about the weapon I use on this ship, the Plasmatron, when I deal self-damage, that also activates the kill everything chip. So now you're probably seeing that my custodian is transparent, and that's because that activated another one of my siege ships, which whenever my shields get taken down, I basically get 16 seconds of pure invincibility to everything but AoE and collision damage. Which is kind of nutty. I don't need to charge my shot for these dudes. They'll just die to basic shots.
Enemy ship destroyed.
Can you please not lower my resist with ion emitter? Thank you. Alright, so now that I've cleared the ads, they should be safe to capture. I was about to overload and kill myself there.
Destroyed.
I don't have any of my resist buffs up. Now we're just waiting on a cargo ship to spawn, essentially. Which is right there. No, I won't be able to get in range of that in time. I should actually start making my way to the next one. Okay, they took care of that first one, so now I gotta take care of the next one. There'll be 3 cargo ships that spawn, changing rotations. Oh yes, speed boost, give. So that'll be the second one, and then the third one. Then we gotta go back inside that area. That Barmies is gonna kill that one real fast, so I'm gonna go over here. I heard that octopus behind me and I was scared because those things hurt at this level. I really need to up the fire rate on this. It hits like a truck, but the fire rate is the only downside. There we go. So now they're gonna have to go back in there and kill the generators. And then I'm just gonna sit out here, cover the ads, and kill the turrets. Or build the turrets, not kill the turrets.
Enemy ship destroyed.
Please shoot me again. No, my regular pulsar's just gonna get him.
Enemy ship destroyed.
I want to make sure I don't crash here, because collision damage is fair and balanced in this game. Extremely fair and balanced. Also, can we take a second to appreciate... Hang on, give me... Can we take a second to appreciate this paint that I got from the event that's going on? It is gorgeous how it like changes colors based on the lighting. And you can't really see it right now, but it's actually animated, so that way the sands change. So it's got like this Arabian Night shifting sand type deal going on.
Ship destroyed.
Oh, I just nuked my shields on accident. There we go, that one hit. Oh, that one just died, so now I have to go get this one. I can't overload. If I end up overloading, I will kill myself. Oh, there. Ah.
Ship destroyed.
Can I push him? Oh, I was gonna ram him to death, but I guess not. Rip. Hey, there we go. This is my favorite mission. It's one of those ones that's kind of just a back and forth fetch quest. There's a few that I do enjoy, but this is one of the ones that's just like, oh. Especially if your team doesn't have enough damage to kill those cruise ships. Because if one of those cruise ships gets inside that area, then you just instantly fail. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So it's a little irritating. Hey.
Congratulations, mercenary. Brilliant victory.
There isn't really any missions I want to do in open space. Oh, I guess I could show off the open space aspect of the game. So this is the entire open space map. This is pretty much what it sounds like. You go into a sector, which is a preloaded map, and then you hit warp gates to go to the next zone. You'll encounter like AI pirates and aliens. If you don't have PvP mode on, like I don't, you will, or if you have PvE mode off, like I do, then other players can actually attack and kill you. There are some certain areas like Warden Outpost, Water Harvest, Colonization Hub, or not Iridium, Solaris, that's what it's called, Solaris, and Abandoned Complex, which are dedicated to PvP. So if you go there, expect to fight and expect to die, because people will kill you, particularly me. No hard feelings. But if you want to warp to a place in the map, it'll cost you 5 Iridium per warp, unless you're in a corporation which owns it, which we own Barter Zone. This is my corporate signal. We are right now Gotti, which means fish. So we're technically Tony's Fish. We change our corp name like every few months just because we're fucking meme lords. But let me actually, what is the mission for ice pits? I'll go to Outpost actually, just because I need ores and stuff. So any of the faction stations you can also warp to for free. So I'll warp here, and I'm going to take my Tharga, because my Tharga is just my brawling OS speed ship. As much as I would love to take the Custodian out there, if I encounter another player, I really would like to have the maneuverability. Because recently I've been running into AIDS Tychins that... Tychin needs a nerf. It's such a broken ship. It is ridiculously hard to hit the damn thing because its hitbox is small. It has so many get out of jail free cards. It does more damage than literally any other recon in the game. It regens out the ass. It's ridiculous. Like, Tychin is so bad that when asking the question of what recon is good, you will always get the answer Tychin. Tychin puts every other recon ship to shame. There's no reason to run anything but Tychin, because it's just that good. Also, the fact that it has a module that slows down enemies is absolutely ridiculous. So here's an example of the open space AI. They'll patrol you, and if they're red, they'll shoot you on sight. And then, you know, I can just go in there and do my thing. Typically, I just ignore them. If I'm a Custodian, they'll die to self-damage. You don't always have to move areas. It's just I'm saving Iridium for the next stage of the event. So that way, when the new ship comes out, I can use my Iridium to build that faster. Ships normally do not do this much damage. I have what's called seed ships, which if you're familiar with a game called Warframe at all, they basically call those Rivens. So every ship can equip seed ships. Each seed ship is randomized, 100%, the names and all that. They have different effects. And a ship can only equip a seed ship level up to that ship's rank. So if I have a rank 8 seed ship, I can equip it on any ship that is above rank, that is rank 8 or under, I believe. You can't equip a rank 15 ship on like a rank 8 ship just because reasons. That'd be funny as hell though. That would definitely make me take out a few of my lower level ships. Seed ships effects range from anything from like missile damage to range to special. Oh, the transport literally just left. But they range all sorts of different effects. You have 4 different types of chip colors. You have the basic white chips, which just give you mediocre effects. There's no negative penalties. You have blue chips, which give you a really big boost to one stat, and then a few other stats like white chips, at the cost of whatever the big boosted stat you get will have a negative. So the reason the fire rate on my Custodian and the range is so low is because I have 2 chips that give like 149% damage and 150% damage at the cost of like 30% fire rate and 14% range. Then you have what are called gold chips, and those would be the chips that were causing my custodian to be invincible when my shields go down. Taking damage deals damage. There's some that, like, every time you kill an enemy, there's a chance it'll boost your fire rate by 50%, something like that. Those gold chips have one rare effect on top of having like 2 to 3 other effects, such as like shield resistance, shield regen, range, damage, things like that. And then you have what are red chips, and those have 2 gold effects and up to 3 other regular effects. I've never actually seen or personally gotten a red chip that was worth keeping. Typically, most C chip builds for PvP are just straight up blue chips with damage, and then white chips for compensating for negatives or just adding damage. That's also why my Tharg is doing so much damage, just because I just have stacked the everlasting load out of fire rate and damage. So you notice... Oh, right, I have to defend the cargo transport, I forgot about that.
Enemy ship destroyed.
So the ship that I'm flying right now is called the Tharga. It is what is called an Iridium ship. Iridium ships are basically made of living crystals, hence the little tentacles and all that shit swaying in the back. Titan is the Iridium Recon. Iridiums have advantages over other ships in that they can self-regen. You can customize them however you want, so whereas other ships typically have locked parameters, I can basically build a Tharga from the ground zero with whatever bonuses to weapons, bonuses to hull, engines, energy, things I want. I can put any slots for engines and stuff on it, at the cost that they're extremely expensive to build. Right now, if I were to get the last node that I need in my Tharga for 5 research points, which just increases, like, I think it's target lock time reduced by like 30% or something like that. That's gonna cost me 58 Xena crystals, and then like, I think it's up to 6 million credits now. And then, is it 200 something 220 mil XP that I have on my Tharga, so it's... No, it's gotta be like 2 million by now. But they cost a lot of XP credits and Xenos, and those get exponentially more expensive as you level up Iridium ships. Beginners should not start with Iridium ships until they like have a set build to follow. Because if you make the mistake that you did, that I did with my Titan, and just start getting all the nodes randomly, it will become so expensive to the point that it's going to cost you almost double just trying to correct your mistake than if you followed someone else's build. Another advantage that Iridiums get over other ships is they get different spec mods. So they get 4 different spec mod choices, each having different parameters. They get their own different unique weapons and mods. My Tharga has all Iridiums can equip something called a Predator's Instinct, which means that if I'm flying at 90% of max speed, not including afterburners, I get a 15% damage bonus to my main weapons. I have a Tharga exclusive module on my hull called Matter Absorber, which means anytime any enemy dies within 1,750 meters of me, I start to regen 4,000 hull over X amount of seconds. My Tharga also has another thing on its shield called Resonating Shield. It's basically like the pulsar from my Custodian, that if I purge my shields, which combines with this mod called Particle Purge that I have on my M5, which depletes my shields at the cost of dealing however much damage my shields had to the enemy. So if I have 9,000 shields and I pop Particle Purge like I just did, that would then deal 9,000 damage. At that point, since my shield went down, Resonating Shield would kick in, which also deals up to 5,000 damage to enemy ships within 1,750 meters of me, depending on their size. And it's just a homing laser, so if you're near me, you are going to take the damage. So you can see right now how like my Tharga is just regenerating its shield. That's because of a mod called Static Shield Regenerator that is also only for Iridiums. If you do not shoot or use mods for 5 seconds, you will gain a shield regen buff. And as you can see, that basically just tops my Tharga off. Another thing all Iridiums get is what's called a teleportation sphere. So if I double tap my move up key, which is spacebar, I basically get a free warp that's on a cooldown. So Iridiums are very interesting. Oh, hello, that was a lag spike. But yeah, Iridiums are very interesting in that they are expensive as all shit to make, but the payoff is well worth it. And then the two biggest ones that need a nerf right now are Zeta, which is the Iridium Destroyer, which I'll actually take out and show you guys after this mission. And then, the Taikin, which is the Recon. Zeta, just because of the amount of sheer firepower and regen and damage that it can deal. It actually got some recent nerfs to its signature weapons and stuff like that. But it's, I still don't think it's enough. It's quite ridiculous how bad Zeta is. So these are the items that are currently in the game. This is Taikim, Wasgot, which is the healer. Tharga, which is a gunship. Gunships are your DPS ship. And then Zeta, which is a destroyer, which are basically long-range suppression. This is what building an Iridium looks like. If you want to grab nodes, it'll cost you resources and all that stuff, and then you basically build it. You can change nodes to rank them down, refit the ship for whatever purposes you want. So let me slot my Zeta here. And then I'll take this into skirmish to show you how kind of ridiculous this thing is. I actually need to put my crystal plates on here. I'll put passive armor on for now, and then... I think I had a pulse. Yeah, I had a pulse. Ah, shit. I didn't even put the right weapon. I forgot to put plasma burster on it. But even without plasma burster, Zeta is ridiculous, and you're about to see why. Of course, this one has seed ships, so this isn't what it's going to be like in a PvP scenario. This is only against bots, open space, and in PvE. But Zeta controls these little things in the front called the Swarm. And they do exactly what you think you can do. I can command my Swarm to go out, and then I can take control of my Swarm to attack someone. And while I am in the mode of controlling the Swarm, it heals me. If my Swarm deals damage, it heals me. And then the Swarm can also be told to attack anyone near me. So now I'm actually going to do what destroyers will do, which is long-range suppression. I'm using what's called a Halo Launcher, which is a standard EM weapon. That little beam right there is called a photon emitter. That's basically a 10,000 damage, 10,000 meter range nuke that lowers a target's EM resistance. And now, once I get within 4,500 meters, I can use what we call the Corona Sneeze, which is that green cloud right there. That is Zeta's signature mod that deals 4,000 thermal damage a second to all enemies in that cloud, as well as healing allies for that much. Which is ridiculous if you think about it, because if you're all grouped up and you just walk, and an enemy just walks into you, you can sneeze on them, they have to leave, lose all the damage they did, or die. It is actually ridiculous. And, like, I'm not the best person to show off what Zeta can do, but, like, there's many other better Zeta pilots out there, but, like, Zeta is quite ridiculous. Like, you can see that I'm barely taking damage. Like, I am regenning quite high because my resistance and all that stuff and just, you know, Iridium bullshit. Oh yeah, I can also sneeze on myself and heal myself like I did there just. But it only heals whole, so that's the thing. I need to recall my Swarm here. Oh yeah, Zeta also gets a warp, so... because it's Iridium. Zeta does the same thing that Taikin does to all of the destroyers. It is literally, why would you fly anything else when Zeta is just that good? So you notice how that Taikin had a red circle around it. That means it's within proxy range. All its destroyers, I think, take it is... what is it? I think it's a 4 times damage from explosive. And then... I can't remember what the damage increase value, but you take a lot more damage from enemies within 1,000 meters of you, if you're in a destroyer. So a good way to kill a destroyer is to get nice and close to it. But with Zeta, that doesn't really work, because Zeta can just throw my Swarm on you like that, hit you point blank with Photon, and then I can just sneeze on you, which instantly kills you, pretty much. If I had Plasma Burster, I'd be able to hit this dude much easier. Yep, there he is. He's in that. He's gonna die. Yep. He couldn't get out of it. It is quite ridiculous. That photon will kill it. Or not, because it has an emergency capsule.
Enemy ship destroyed.
I'm actually gonna eat him with the swarm here. Wow, they really nerfed swarm's damage. That's a big nerf. It's not doing nearly as much damage as it used to. Which is good, because it was ridiculous. I missed. So another thing to know about destroyers is you have mods. Your mods can get shot off, and this includes your engines. If a mod gets shot off, it will deal damage to you. Quite a bit, in fact, and you cannot use that mod until you've regened enough health to use it. But like the thing about Zeta is, like you see there, like he was firing a missile at me and I just warped out of it. And then, you know, I've got my sneeze, I've got my swarm, and I've got all sorts of other Zeta Iridium shenanigans that just make this ship ridiculously hard to kill. There's actually a lot of other destroyers in the game. There's 3 destroyers for each level. Well, not each level, but there's 3 different destroyers for 3 different tiers. You have one for each of the high rank, which we call T5, which is ship levels. They're rank 15 destroyers. Then you have 3 destroyers for each faction of rank 11, and then you have 3 destroyers of each faction for rank 8s. Different destroyers for each faction have different things. The main notable ones that you see end up being like, well, of course, Zeta, because Zeta's Zeta. But I do see the occasional Vigilant. Vigilant is Empire. Empire have really strong hull, and their weapons have an innate damage boost. But at the cost that they fly like a brick and have no shields. I hit myself with that. What else is there? You have the T5 equivalent of Federation. Federation ships have mediocre shields and hull, but they go fast, and when they reach like 90% speed, I believe it is, they get a crit damage bonus and critical bonus. That one's a Cyrus. Cyrus's gimmick is I go fast, I do lots of damage. If you go fast near me, you take lots of damage. It's a pretty neat one. And then you have Jericho, which is the Tyrant. I don't know much about the Tyrant, other than the fact that it gets a thing that taking damage to your shields with the spec mod reflects that said damage. I don't know the specifics of Tyrant. I personally own the Vigilant, and that's about it, other than Zeta. So yeah, this is like, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but like you can kind of see why Zeta is ridiculous. Granted, this is with stonk seed chips. I do have some decent seed chips on my Zeta, but it's like, in PvP it's even worse, because it's one of those things that like, you can kill a bad Zeta pilot with some trouble, but like, if you a good Zeta pilot who knows how to play Zeta at Battlestar at Omega, they will shred your entire team if you do not know how to deal with it. And there's quite frankly, there's not a lot you can do with it, because if they have a module called a blaster turret, which is basically an automatic turret for all destroyers, that if it hits you, it reduces your speed and maneuverability by like 45%, meaning that you basically can't move. The Zeta hits you with your swarm, hits you with a photon, and then hits you with a sneeze, and while you can't move, you just sit there and die to AoE. Which is absolutely ridiculous. That's another module that needs a nerf, but like in PvP without seed chips, it's extremely hard to counter that. And especially when you have like 2 or 3 Zetas running around, then it's, you better hope that your team has some damn good gunships in long ranges, because there's not much you can do against that. Hitting someone with the swarm, like when I throw my swarm out in that cloud like that, that also reduces their speed. So, yeah. This is like one of the few exceptions of a ship that I fly that I will 100% say it needs a nerf. Because honestly, it does. It is disgusting.
This is it. We've achieved our goal. Great work, mercenaries.
I've completely forgot about my ice cream. It's just sitting over there in the corner of my desk crying as it melts. I feel so bad. For those of you wondering, I am having the Irish cream and brownie whiskey Haagen-Dazs. It melts extremely fast because of the whiskey in it. Yeah, look at that. 23 kills against bots. And look at the rest of my team. That's disgusting.
Excellent result, mercenary. We deserve this victory.
So let me get that out of there. Right. As I was saying, the spirits Haagen-Dazs tend to melt rather fast, and I'm guessing that's due to the alcohol in them. I'm not a person who has much experience in the ways of alcohol interacting with ice cream, but that can only be my assumption with it. Right, classes, ship classes. That's the thing I should go over. So there's 10 different tactical classes divided into 4 groups. You have your first 3, which are typically connoted by triangles, called interceptors. Interceptors are very fast. They have very small hull and shields. Their whole gimmick is basically just go in and try and like confuse bigger ships or just cap beacons, which are what recons do. You have your ECMs, which are basically electronic hacking ships. If you like to just do nothing, be an absolute annoying shit and piss people off, ECM is the thing for you. You can prevent people from shooting using missiles and mods. You can prevent them from moving. You can reduce their damage. You can steal energy. You can blow up their missiles on them. It's basically all about just interfering with the way a ship works. The next ones, which are recons, your job is basically to be a spotting ship, unless you're Tycoon, in which case you do literally everything. Your special mod is normally a micro warp, which allows you to travel extremely long distances over a short period of time. Spy drones allow you to tag an enemy with them, which reduces their regen and allows all of your allies to see them. A micro locator takes all enemies out of invisibility and will allow all of your allies to see them in range. Recons also have a module that lets them go invisible. You're basically kind of like reconnaissance. And if you mix those two together, you get what's called the Covert Ops. Covert Ops are some of the most frail ships in the game. Their whole thing is basically hit and run attacks on enemies. Your special mod is a plasma web, which doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it deals continuous damage over time. It's really good against ships that can go invisible, like recons and tacklers, because they take a tick from that, it will decloak them. Then you get things like a plasma arc, which is basically an energy blade on the front of your ship that deals a lot of damage to everyone in range. Adaptive camo gives you radar invisibility, so people can't see you with radar, but they can see you with your eyes. Orion gives you big damage, you get nukes, so your job is basically just hit and run. Moving on to the fighter class, you have what's called the gunship, which would be the Tharga, the Stingray, Wolfhelm. Too long didn't read. This class is just I do lots of damage in a short period of time and sustain fire. And then you have my personal favorite, the command fighters. You're basically a support ship. You're there to buff all your allies and buff yourself. Your spec mod is normally a diffusion shield, which negates damage at the cost of energy. Other commands like the Granite, which is the command that I main. Where's Granite here? Get special things. Granite's special mod is different than others. Using it gives you a 30% weapon range, and for every ally near you, you get 40 points of resistance. And then Granite's special gun extends that resistance time that you get by 0.7 seconds for every time you hit an enemy. It gets another mod called Anti-Sabotage, which Gives all of your... They apparently messed up the value, but it said 40 points of resistance to your team when it's applied for 5 seconds, and it also disables ECM effects for up to 27 seconds. If an ally receives an ECM effect, the effect is negated, and then duration time for anti-sabotage is shortened to 5 seconds. And then Granite's signature computer is called Satisfaction. Basically, it means if anything dies within 2,500 meters of you, all allies within 4,000 meters get their fire rate increased, which is pretty nice. Granite is basically, you can play it as a backline sniping support. I tend to play it as midline, so that way I get adaptive resonance and I can be a bit more aggressive with what I do, because Granite can be pretty tanky. Moving on from commands, you get tacklers. Honestly, one of the worst classes, because like Tykin does what Tackler does, Zeta does what Tackler does. Tackler gets countered by a recon, it gets countered by a lot of things, but basically what Tacklers do is they're like a mini stealth ship, as in they can go invisible to hunt down ships. Your main things to find is like recons, covert ops, even though recons counter these ships hardcore. But your main goal is to find interceptors and take them down. Your mods include any like suppressions, so you can slow down enemies, reduce the amount of resist they get, place down sentry drones. Singularity can get permanent invisibility with its special mod at the cost of cooldowns, and it can place trap mines that trap enemies in areas. Federation tacklers like the Lion Mach 2 and the Rockwell end up getting a slowing projector, which you pop that and you hit an enemy, they just stop dead in their tracks for 2 seconds. They get Beam Disintegrator, which basically is just an instant one-shot to any interceptor not running an emergency barrier. An emergency barrier is a module that activates when you're low hull. That basically gives you a second of invulnerability and prevents lethal damage. That's pretty much it for fighters. Now you move into frigates. You have your snipers. There's 2 different classes of snipers. You have a disintegrator sniper, which is always going to be your Empire snipers. These basically just fire a laser, a high velocity laser that hits enemies. Snipers, pretty self-explanatory. You sit back, snipe things, and go off radar to hide. And then the other sniper class is Jericho. Never use these. These Jericho torpedo lasers are absolutely useless. They do absolutely no damage. They can be shot down by guards with anti-missile shields. And they honestly take way too long to reach their target. And you're pretty frail. You have very limited escape options on Jericho Lurfs. The next one, which is like the class that I love besides, and I main besides the command fighter, is guard frigates. Guard frigates, like I said, they're all about guarding your allies, regenning yourself, and debuffing enemies. Most guards have a phase shield, which gives you 120 resist per for the damage type it's selected to. Getting hit by damage, so say I have thermal damage resistance on, which is a little fire symbol. Someone shoots me with a thermal weapon, that gives me a 15% damage increase. Guards don't have big speed. That is their one counterplay, is they do not have speed, so once you sit there, you're pretty much there to fight, and if you don't have energy, you can't really do a whole lot in guards. Other than that, you kind of just sit there and destroy stuff. This is the ship that I talk about, Custodian. I adore this ship to death. Moving on from guards, you have your most supportive role, which is called the Frigate Engineering. It's pretty self-explanatory. You heal people. All of your abilities rely on healing things. Most engineers start off with combat drones, which are little drones that shoot things for you. If you sacrifice a drone, it heals shield for all allies in range. You can place down a warp gate to help people get places, but you're better off just running healing things. Most engineers get all engineers get a multi-purpose model called a static shield, which kind of just puts up like a panel in front of you that gives you protective fire. And then the last class that you can play is called Destroyer, which is like Zeta. You're basically just a long-range AoE suppression ship. You sit back and you just deal a lot of damage and hit people. And then that's pretty much it. So the golden emblem is the Empire. These are best summed up as high hull, low shield, gun damage, turns like a brick. Then you have the Federation, which are I'm pretty weak, but I zip zap zoom. You have Jericho, which is, I'm basically the opposite of Empire, but with worse bonuses. You have Iridiums, which I've already explained. You know, Tykin, Zeta, bullshit, completely customizable. And then you have this, which is basically like ships that don't fit into the classes or are basically special event ships. This is actually the new ship that's coming out called the Tornado. It is technically a Federation gunship. As you can see by the Federation symbol, it's a rank 16. But the devs did an oopsie and didn't want to give us a rank 17 gunship since, you know, Wolfhound is already the rank 16. They just slapped it here. We don't know much about Tornado other than the fact that it's basically two ships in one, as you can see. So there's a top ship and a bottom ship. Your special mod will allow you, upon activation, to split the ships, creating a clone. Or, actually, no, not a clone like Recons. Recons get clones. This is an entirely another ship that will attack enemies or defend allies. Other than that, we don't know much about it. The current event is a pass event that has... It was technically 80 days. I finished it in 20 because I got the deluxe edition because, you know, there's shit going on in the household and I wasn't sure how long I'd be able to be around for, but I finished it. There's only 4 parts for it in the first stage, and you need 6 parts to actually build the ship itself, so there is going to be a second stage. And my guess is they will give out the signature mods in the stage. If not, then oh well, I better start saving Iridium. Other than that, data miners think it's going to be incredibly broken. But I guess we'll see. Endeavor Special Projects, Object Special... These are basically, you know, your space age. Yeah, like, I think this is tribute to the Russian rocket back in the space age. The Endeavor is obviously the American shuttle, space shuttle. And then Object MY18 is hashtag aliens exist merch pulling. Object's actually very interesting because, unlike all other ships, except for destroyers, it flies like it can swap flying modes. But it's also interesting in that it can fire in all directions without a dead zone. So it doesn't matter where I actually... Hang on, let me take all these out and then just put in the object. I played it a bit earlier, but I'll show you guys here at a low rank skirmish. It doesn't get engine slots, and it was actually kind of the precursor to Iridiums, because it levels up like an Iridium, but it's less grindy and less bullshit. It gets no engines, which, that's fine for a guard. A guard really doesn't need engines. What you need is computer hull, tankiness, energy, things like that. Its special mod gives its allies a bonus shielding over their normal shields, and gives it speed. Its other signature mod basically reflects missiles back at enemies, and then it can also swap positions with enemies, which is hilarious. So as you can see here, I'm in the normal driving mode right now. I just kind of go where my cursor puts me. But if I swap my driving mode, my ship now remains static, and I can free aim. But even if I'm in regular ship driving mode, I can basically shoot in all directions without a dead zone penalty. Most other frigates and fighters, and hell, even interceptors and destroyers don't get that. Which actually what I like about the object, because it's a guard that can't get strafed on. Because that tends to be a big problem for guard frigates. If someone gets behind you, you have to kind of like lug your way around to try and hit them. But object just goes, nah fam, boom, behind me. Now the downside to having no engines is I'm just slow as crap. So let me just deal with that there. That's dead. I don't know. Oh, well, he just ate. What? I didn't have my missile dome up. I was gonna reflect a missile, but I couldn't. I didn't get that one. That's a rip. It's like, you can see how, like, I'm being strafed on by interceptors, but they ain't really able to like get behind me effectively because, you know, firing cones are non-existent on this thing. And that's pretty much object skimming. I don't have mine high enough rank to go into PvP, and from what I can tell, since guard frigates are extremely underrated in PvP. Hey, Archelon! That's nice. That's another guard frigate. That's a Federation guard frigate that can basically turn all incoming EM damage into shield restoration. Yeah, that's pretty much the game. It's kind of like Warframe, but space. You can squad up with friends, join corps. There's things called spec ops, which are basically like giant alien frigate fleet things that you have to just murder with a bunch of other players. You've got conquest, which is like the quote-unquote competitive, it's basically like the player-to-player competitive between corps. Conquest is, if you ever hear me say SecCon or Sector Conquest, or as us guys like to call it sometimes, Sexy Conk in the chat. That's actually battling for the open space sectors, and that's how you get these sectors, because these sectors end up giving you rewards. Like this one gives Xenos, and this one gives Iridium and all that stuff, so that's pretty much the game. There's not really much else to explain. The tutorials are ass, so I hope I gave some people who might want to see a little of an insight into it. I am going to probably log off and end the stream here. I know I didn't really do a whole lot. This is kind of just a chill stream, but my ice cream is melting. I would very much like to eat it, and I've got a little bit of chores I need to do before I hit the hay. So, thanks everyone that tuned in. Thanks if anyone is still here. I might stream tomorrow. It all just depends how my tooth and stuff is feeling after surgery today. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming along, and I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you guys want to see more, if you have suggestions. Hell, if you even want to play, just give me a DM on Discord for Affinity, or even Telegram. You can find me pretty much anywhere at this fucking point, except for Twitter, because I really just don't have social media. Well, yeah, stay safe, stay happy, and stay fresh.